if you're watching this video, chances are you're kind of feeling like chucking your marriage out the window. But I wanted to share some things with you that might be helpful and maybe even be a perspective shift for you. First of all, did you know that virtually every wife at some point wants to chuck her marriage? This is kind of normal because you're married to a human being, and that human being has faults and flaws. And even if he's a believer, and I hope he is, but even if he's a believer, he still is not perfect. He is going to let you down sometimes. He's going to be insensitive sometimes. He's going to probably, more than likely, struggle with some sin in some area of his life because we are all sinners, right? The Bible says so, you too. I know it's easy just to see his sin, but he's a fellow human being struggling through some issues. Maybe he is also trying to overcome dysfunctional patterns from his childhood. So don't give up too easily because, again, almost every wife at multiple points feels like chucking her marriage, giving up, just throwing in the towel, saying it just isn't worth it to persevere. But I want you to persevere a little bit longer. Now, if your husband is abusing you, then go see a counselor immediately, go see your pastor, get some immediate counsel. But if it's something a little less serious than that, maybe your husband has an alcohol problem, or maybe he does tend to be a little bit verbally offensive at times, or maybe he struggles with a pornography addiction, or you think he's been spending a little bit too much time with that female coworker. Those kind of issues can be worked through. Instead of getting upset and resentful and shutting down and shutting him out, what about working through those problems, addressing them kindly, lovingly, but firmly, and saying, we've got to work through this problem, and maybe you need to go see a counselor together. I'm just saying, don't give up too easily. There are some people watching how you're handling this. They know you're a believer, and they're watching how you are handling trials and challenges in your marriage. Do you just throw in the towel? Do you give up too easily? Or do you persevere with kindness and compassion, but also firmness when necessary, maybe setting some boundaries when necessary, but even doing that in love, right? And you know who might be watching that's especially important? If you have children, your children are watching how you're handling this. Does mom just give up and just have seething resentment for her husband, their dad? Or does she seek counsel, persevere, ask God for help and guidance? Let me just read this little verse for you here. It's Hebrews 12, starting verse 1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Endurance. And let me share just another quick little verse too. Galatians 6 verse 9. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap our reward. Sometimes you just have to hang on a little bit longer. You have to go to 2 or 3 more counseling sessions. But don't give up too easily. Divorce, I know from personal experience in my first marriage, divorce is very hard on children. Some people say, oh, children will bounce back. It is hard, very hard on children. So don't throw in the towel too quickly. Give God a chance to work. Get on your knees in prayer. Seek counsel. Seek a counselor. Maybe sit with a pastor, but don't give up too easily.